Good afternoon, Facebook. um, a lot of people have asked me to, I guess, tell a story. On December 30th of 2023, um, I had basically a couple of days of what felt like upset stomach, gas, acid reflux, whatever you want to call it. Um, Something inside kind of told me that I needed to investigate this further. So I called an ambulance. They showed up a few minutes later. I actually walked out the front door and stood and talked to the EMT, and he asked me where the patient was, and I just raised my hand. And he said, "Well, let's get in the ambulance." And I said, "Okay." Um, he got all the little tabs hooked up and did my blood pressure, and the driver was kind of slow rolling out of the resort. And about the time we hit Highway 27 in Claremont, right outside the resort, the EMT started smacking on the back of the chair of the driver, and he said, "Lights, siren, go now." I was having a heart attack in the ambulance, and it had just started. So, kind of surprised, number one. He he put two tabs of nitro, put the first tab of nitro under my tongue, and then he gave me another one. And then I've had nitro before, and if you don't need it, it's it's quite the rush. Neither one of them fazed me. I knew there was a problem then. About 5 minutes after we arrived in the ER, I coded. And the EMT I spoke with later on, he said, "We couldn't believe it." He said, "We just turned you over to the nurses, and all of a sudden they were calling a code out in the ER, and we looked over and it was you." And my heart stopped and I flatlined twice. Just because of the persistence of the ER crew at the South Lake Hospital here in Claremont, and I guess my stubbornness. Those are the only reasons I'm here today, and because of the quick actions. I mean, we were right place, right time, whatever, however you want to call it. I remembered waking up at two instances, and I'm still trying to lay everything out as far as how it happened, but I did get back to the ER, and I spoke with some of the people from the ER team. I did get to see the girl that administered CPR. I didn't know that they had done chest compressions. I thought they were just hitting me with the defib. And basically what happened was I went into cardiac arrest. I flatlined. They hit me with the defibrillator to bring me back, and I went into tachycardia, which is just rapid heartbeat. But the only way to get rid of that is to hit you again. I took 14 hits from the defibrillator. When I returned to the ER the other night, it was dead quiet when they rolled me in, when people saw my face, because most of them, the last time they had seen me, I wasn't breathing. I wasn't alive. Uh, After speaking with several of the doctors and surgeons, I have, I guess it's kind of sinking in on the fact of how much of a miracle that actually was. Both in the time and place, and the fact that I got hit that many times with a defibrillator, and I got up to walk around and talk about it. Um, it I blacked out in the ER. I had woken up twice, which matched basically what they'd said with me flatlining. Um, when I woke up, I was in the ICU New Year's Eve morning, so it was following day. I was just, I was confused. I knew the things that I remembered, but I had no clue whatsoever as to what had happened. All I know is I went into the ER to go get acid reflux and gas checked out. And the next thing I knew, I woke up the next morning and I was absolutely sore from the top of my waist all the way to up here in my neck. I couldn't lift my arms. You couldn't touch me because it hurt. Had burn marks branded into my chest from the defibrillator. P.S. for all those people that watch TV, when they hit you with a defibrillator, it's not two paddles on the chest. One's up here, the other one's on the left side behind your rib cage. So they go straight through your rib cage. I used to work industrial electrical. I've been shocked before. Not like that. Nor have I had anything hurt like that. But when I woke up in ICU, the curtain that they pull across was cracked open a little ways. And I asked the nurse, I said, you got observation windows here. I mean, when you stand at the nurse's station, you were looking at me. I said, why is that cracked open? And she looked at me and she said, you don't know yet, do you? And I said, no what? And she said, well, you're some kind of a miracle around here. She said, none of us have ever seen anybody get hit by a defib that many times and live to talk about it. So I guess miracle number 1, 2, 3, whatever you want to call it, there was several that happened. I'm grateful that I made that phone call when I did. If I'd have waited 5 more minutes, I would have never made the phone call. I'm grateful that everybody was where they were at when they were supposed to be. I never in a million years did I expect what happened to have occurred that night. I'm blessed in a lot of ways because, number one, I didn't wake up with my chest cracked open. So recovery is a little quicker that way. They were able to put 2 stents in. They placed them in my distal artery, which is what supplies blood to the lower ventricles on your heart. That part actually didn't hurt so bad until they took the thing out of the inside of my groin and had to hold pressure on it to keep it from bleeding. That hurt. Oh God, that hurt. And that nurse had a grip. Holy crap. But I mean, from that point, I've had a little blood pressure thing that they, one time it went low, the other time it went high. I've been back to the hospital twice. Um, so changing the medication kind of threw me for a loop. Um, but I think everything's kind of getting normalized now. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks, so I think we're getting to the point where we're starting to have everything be normalized, and I'm getting used to it. Um, I, I'm not quite sure what to say to anybody. Uh, I know and I know I repeat myself a lot when I'm talking to people. Part of that's from the stroke. Part of that's just from the fact that I'm freaking out. um, you can always think you know how you would handle that kind of situation. And knowing how we are personally, we all think that, well, I can fight that. Well, I got news. When it's your time to go, ain't nothing you can do to stop it. Nothing. I don't care who you are. Plus the fact that you probably won't really know what's going on, because I didn't. I certainly didn't. I kept going into what I thought was a dream, or, I don't know. It was really different. Um, the first time I remember waking up, uh, I would, I was just looking at the fluorescent light, and I blacked out again. And that time when I blacked out, I don't know if I was in a room, or I don't know. It was just black. And no noise, no pain, no nothing. I looked in front of me and I saw what looked like the outline of a door that had a light on behind it. And the door cracked open, and I heard my son say, "Come on, Pops." And I walked, or I guess I moved to the door. I don't know, walked, whatever. I couldn't see anything. Next thing I know, I was at the door and going through it. When I went through the doorway, I was laying on the table in the ER looking at the fluorescent light above me, trying to jerk the ventilator tube out of my throat. Did not want that thing in my throat. I wanted it out. But like I say, when I blacked out from that point, I woke up in ICU the next morning. And I immediately called for the chaplain and told the chaplain what had happened and what I remembered. But nobody had told me what happened. I didn't know. When I first woke up, I had no clue. I just woke up in ICU and I was like, okay, something happened. Later, not probably 20 minutes after that, I looked at the nurse and I said, what happened? Why am I here? And she just looked at me and she said, "You don't know yet, do you?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, hang on." So they called the technicians from the cath lab to come upstairs. And when they showed up, the nurse told me, she said, She said, "You're kind of like a celebrity around here because we've not seen anybody get hit by a defibrillator." She said, "They hit you more than 10 times." And the girl who had come from the cath lab, she said 14. She said, "I had to count." And that kind of stumped me for a minute. And the guy who had come up with her, I asked him, I said, "People tell you that they die sometimes." And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, how do you tell if somebody's dead?" He point blank just looked at me and he said, "If I can't find your pulse, you're dead." And I just looked at him and I said, "Did I die?" And he put 2 fingers up on his chest and didn't say a word. Well, he didn't have to. I already knew. I spoke to the girl who was doing the chest compressions a couple of days ago. I just happened to be in the ER and the right crew was on duty, and she walked up right after I'd gotten in there, and she said, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I just looked at her and I said, "Nope." I said, "I'm going to assume you were here the other day." And she said, "Yep." She said, "I was the one doing CPR on you, doing the compressions on you." I said, "Okay, that explains why the ribs hurt, other than the fact that I got shocked with 367 volts DC, which didn't help didn't help any. But I didn't realize that they were the chest compressions and the whole 9 yards. Like I say, everything was really fuzzy as far as details. I mean, there were some things that I vividly remember. And when I spoke to the charge nurse from the ER, she told me, she said, "You woke up several times when we were doing CPR on you." She said, "You were lucid, answering questions just like we needed you to." And she said, "And then all of a sudden your eyes would roll back in your head and there you go again." So I guess my message to everybody is listen to your body. Like I say, 5 minutes either direction, or 5 minutes later, I would not have physically been able to make the phone call, and I would have passed away here in my house because there's nobody here. So just, I mean, we're all all the people that are my age, we're all kind of getting to that point, and it's amazing to me how quickly something like that can just go south. I mean, like I say, I walked out of the house, walked up, got inside the ambulance. We were on our way to the hospital, and within 10 minutes of that point in time, I had flatlined the first time. So I guess let me go to a good part. When I was in ICU, and a lot of you who know me personally know that my birthday is actually New Year's Day. I was admitted into ICU on New Year's Eve, which is actually my sister's birthday. The nurse who was taking care of me I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Vanessa. I don't know. I have to try to, some of that's still really foggy. They all knew when my birthday was. And about, I mean, I had gone on Facebook and told some people who had, what had happened and so on. And we were all kind of commenting about the fact that we had gotten our jammies picked out for what we were going to sit, what we were going to do New Year's Eve in, I mean, I wasn't going anywhere. Of course, I hadn't planned on it either. But when about 5 minutes or so until midnight, my nurse came in and she did my blood sugar and blood pressure and temperature and all that stuff. And she got ready to leave and she said, well, hang on just a second. And she walked over and she grabbed the curtain for the ICU and started walking across. There were somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 people standing outside my room. And they counted down to midnight, and we all said Happy New Year. And they started singing Happy Birthday to me. I've never been that thankful for that in my life, because legitimately I shouldn't have seen it. I turned 62 at midnight on New Year's Eve with a new lease on life. And I'm going to do my best not to screw this up. Let's just say that I hope nobody else has to spend their birthday like this. However, I got sent home later that evening, and I would say that has to be probably the best birthday present that I've ever received in my life. And so it's going to take a while to get work back up and try to get back active again and try to start doing things. But I just want everybody at the hospital to know how grateful I am, and all my friends on Facebook for all your prayers and all your words of encouragement, and for standing by just watching the story unfold. Anyway, that's kind of my story for New Year's and my 62nd birthday, and my new testimony. I'm not sure it gets any better than that. Just know that I love you all, and I'll see you on Facebook or wherever. So, take care, and just be thankful for everything you get.